Welcome, guys and geeks, to the MCU Chronological Timeline version 6.0.
Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
And that's a totally serious question. This video only comprises the Marvel Cinematic Universe film chronology and is mostly spoiler-free. If you want to watch the complete and full spoiler version of the MCU timeline, including all the shows, be sure to click that card right there for version 6.5. This timeline is meant to be a chronological viewing order. While some of the films overlap, this timeline will generalize the film's given dates to determine whether it comes before or after another title in the list, giving primary weight to a film's third act or climax. This means we won't be breaking up the films if they bounce around between different years. Also, please note, most of the mid and post-credit scenes take place during different time periods than the films they're attached to, and won't be used in determining when a film occurs. I'm looking at you, Thor Ragnarok. Fair warning, certain events and time frames can be seen as inherently spoilery. Let's begin. Captain America, the first Avenger, sets the backdrop to Earth 616 and the Marvel Cinematic Universe as the first film to introduce superheroes to the world, at least in the modern epic, and ushers in a new age for mankind. Beginning at the height of America's involvement in World War II, the first Avengers shows the birth of a superhero, one whose moral compass and character are just as impressive as his enhanced superhuman abilities. Taking place between 1942 and 1945, as well as a short stint in 2011, this is undoubtedly the first title in our list.
You don't give up, do you?
The next film, Captain Marvel, is one of the more recent films in the series, though its chronological placement is one of the earliest on the timeline. Here we follow a Kree-trained warrior named Vers to Earth in search of several shape-shifting refugees known as the Skrull in 1995.
Is this C-53? Do you understand me? Is my universal translator working?
Yeah, I understand you.
Along the way, she befriends a young Nick Fury and discovers the incredible extents of her power. We push forward into 2008 with the film that started it all, Iron Man. Tony Stark, billionaire weapons dealer for the US government and CEO of Stark Industries, has a change of heart after being kidnapped by terrorists using his own weapons against him. Upon discovering shrapnel embedded in his chest and inching closer to his heart, he finds a new way to power not only him, but a means for his escape, and the subsequent line of suits that would identify him as Iron Man. Iron Man 2 picks up 6 months after Ivan Vanko completes his response to the Iron Man armor, but here is where some may take offense at our placement on the timeline. Instead of retconning Iron Man to occur later than 2008, as this film would suggest is necessary, we've kept it where it is due to later retcons in the series, and have subsequently moved Iron Man 2 as occurring in 2011. While we won't get into too much detail as to why this is necessary here, please note that Iron Man 2, The Incredible Hulk, and Thor run semi-concurrently. If you want more information, we've compiled an incredibly in-depth look at each film in the timeline in this 20-part video playlist known as When Does the MCU Take Place, which you can click right here. It'll explain everything, but for now let's continue placing each film on the timeline. The Incredible Hulk is perhaps the most retconned film in the MCU, having replaced both the lead actor in the role of the Hulk, as well as completely ignoring its own timeline retroactively. The film makes it very clear on multiple occasions that it occurs in May of 2007, 5 years after Bruce Banner subjects himself to gamma radiation and develops his angry alter ego, the Hulk. Because of its involvement with Fury's Big Week, a week-long period which also encompasses Iron Man 2 and Thor, the film has been moved up to May and early June 2011. Thor reintroduces the Asgardians onto Midgard, or Earth, in the modern era, having been away long enough for the Asgardians to fade away into Norse myth.
You are unworthy of these realms, unworthy of your title! You're unworthy!
After being stripped of his titles and rank, Thor must prove to himself and his king that he is again worthy to possess the powers once bestowed to him and enhanced by his hammer, Mjolnir. Thor occurs in 2011, beginning shortly after Iron Man 2 and The Incredible Hulk. There was an idea to bring together a group of remarkable people to see if they could become something more. And they certainly did with Marvel's The Avengers.
I understood that reference.
Set almost 1 year after Fury's big week, the Avengers team up to stop a global threat of invasion in 2012, crafted by Thor's brother Loki. The film would not only go on to transform and be referenced by future MCU films, but became hugely influential in how Hollywood has approached franchises in the years since. If you're enjoying this video that you probably didn't know took us months to create, let us know by doing some combination of these 4 actions. Odin's ravens are always watching. Iron Man 3 sees the ghosts of Tony's past coming back to haunt him.
Hi.
This is an interesting film to try and fit into the timeline as it features dates that occur after the events of Thor: The Dark World, but is generally believed to occur before the Dark World. It's confusing. We break it down in this video right here. Ultimately, the film must occur a year prior to this date on this newspaper during Christmas 2012. Thor: The Dark World naturally comes next.
We have to do that again.
Every 5,000 years, the convergence of the 9 realms opens a portal between worlds, and Malekith uses it to unleash the power of the Ether to transform the universe back into eternal darkness. The convergence occurs on November 17th, 2013. With Captain America: The Winter Soldier, we find ourselves in the summer of 2014.
Don't say it. Don't you say it.
Left.
Come on!
Adapting to life in the 21st century, Steve Rogers and Natasha Romanoff find themselves on the run from a rogue cell that's taken over S.H.I.E.L.D., and a brand new threat arrives from Steve's past. Next up, we leave Earth to explore the cosmic side of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Guardians of the Galaxy takes place 26 years after Peter Quill, a young boy from Missouri, is abducted in 1988. Here Peter, now going by the moniker of Star-Lord, must team up with other galactic misfits to take down the Kree radical, Ronan the Accuser. Without further information, we can only assume that Guardians of the Galaxy occurs sometime during the summer of 2014, shortly after The Winter Soldier.
His people are completely literal. Metaphors are gonna go over his head.
Nothing goes over my head. My reflexes are too fast. I wouldn't catch it.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 occurs only a few short months after the first film, and considering there are no other films that arrive concurrently between the two, they'll show up side by side on our timeline. A mysterious entity introduces himself to Peter and the newly formed team and helps unlock Peter's true potential, but not all is as it seems. This film likely occurs mid to late fall 2014.
I took my daughter through the forgotten lakes of my homeworld. She was like you.
Disgusting.
The Avengers must team up again in Avengers Age of Ultron as Tony Stark and Bruce Banner unintentionally unleash a dangerous artificially intelligent life form into the world. Ultron is intent on making the world a better place, a place run by machines who aren't constrained by human emotion.
But, like the men said, what doesn't kill you just makes me stronger.
This event takes place in the summer of 2015, as becomes evident by other titles in the series. The next film you'll want to watch is AntMan, which takes place some short months later. Scott Lang is released from a 3-year prison sentence on July 17, 2015, and after a few months trying to make a living and failing to pay child support, he reverts back to his old ways of burglary, only to find a dusty old suit that happens to be able to make him shrink down to the size of an ant. The film's climax occurs on October 9th, 2015. Oh, you like our MCU Timeline shirt? Well, you can grab yours now by visiting our merch store linked just below the video, and you'll support the production of videos and content just like this. The Avengers team find themselves divided on 2 different sides of a controversial new bill known as the Sokovia Accords, which effectively limits their freedom to protect citizens across sovereign borders due to damage they may or may not have caused.
You've made some very public mistakes. We need to win their trust back.
Focus up. I'm sorry, did I just mishear you, or did you agree with me?
Oh, I want to take it back.
No,
now.
you can't retract it.
Captain America Civil War's climax occurs within the first week of April 2016. Please note that while many films occur in 2016, there is a fair amount of overlapping. For much more information, please see our When Does the MCU Take Place series. Black Panther picks up a week after King T'Chaka is killed in a terrorist attack that occurred during Civil War's timeframe.
King T'Chaka, The beloved ruler was one of many confirmed dead after a terrorist attack at the United Nations a week ago.
The film follows T'Challa as he undergoes the coronation ritual upon arriving back in his country of Wakanda, an African utopia hidden away from the rest of the world. Along the way, he is challenged for the throne by Eric Killmonger. The film occurs as early as the second week of April and spans only a few days. You'd think that with almost a decade of films under their belt at this stage, the dates would just slide into place, right? Well, then they go and release Spider-Man Homecoming. A great film which introduces one of the MCU's most personable villains to date in the Vulture, but a film that also boasts the worst timeline fumbles in the entirety of the MCU.
I just wanted to be like you. And I wanted you to be better.
Almost every date, time, and reference to season is contradicted by other films in the MCU, or by Homecoming itself. This video right here explains how poorly it actually fits on the MCU timeline. Doctor Strange comes next on our timeline, though, like we mentioned earlier, there's some overlap with other films in 2016. In fact, Doctor Strange begins before even Civil War, revolving around Stephen Strange getting into an accident and trying anything to get the proper use of his hands back. He eventually finds himself in Kamar-Taj, under the tutelage of the Ancient One, as he learns the mystical arts.
You think too little of yourself.
Oh, you think you see through me, do you? Well, you don't. But I see through you!
The climax occurs at the tail end of 2016, and the mid- and post-credit scenes occur in 2017, once Stephen apparently feels proficient enough to protect the Eye of Agamotto from his sanctum in New York. Thor Ragnarok sees the return of Thor's deranged older sister, Hela, and upon facing off against her in the Bifrost, gets transported to the alien world of Sakaar, where he meets an old friend from work.
Each other. He's a friend from work.
Despite what the mid-credits scene would have you believe, Thor Ragnarok does not take place directly before Infinity War. There is about a 5 to 7 month gap between this film's main events and the scene in question. The film likely takes place during fall 2017. AntMan and the Wasp, however, occurs mid to April 2018. The film takes place a little over 2 years after Civil War, and this is notable as Scott Lang's just about to end his probation period for events he aided in said film.
Come on, Wu. I've got 3 days left. Why would I try to escape?
He and Hope become entangled in a quantum heist as Hank Pym attempts to bring Janet back from, well, quantum entanglement. A popular theory holds that this film occurs concurrently to Infinity War, and we've even mentioned that on occasion here. But aside from the mid-credits scene, there's no evidence that this is the case. Between the climax and the mid-credits is at least a week-long resolution. Avengers Infinity War occurs over 3 days, with the climax being, at the earliest, on or after April 19th, 2018. The latest would probably be June 3rd.
The hardest choices require the strongest wills.
I think you'll find our will equal to yours.
The film sees the Mad Titan Thanos attempt to rid half of the universe of life by collecting all 6 Infinity Stones, a threat even the Avengers will have trouble defending against. Avengers Endgame, the sequel to Infinity War, is extremely difficult to place on the timeline without giving away any major spoilers. But following the snap in the previous film, the Avengers need to regroup to take Thanos down for good. But that won't be as easy as it sounds.
You could not live with your own failure. Where did that bring you? Back to me.
Endgame bounces around on the timeline, but the primary time period is 5 years after Avengers Infinity War, at about October 2023. Spider-Man Far From Home is the latest film on our timeline, taking place 8 months after what is known as the blip from Endgame. Peter Parker and friends go on an end-of-year trip to Europe. Unfortunately for him, it won't be much of a vacation, as everywhere he goes happens to be attacked by giant elemental monsters.
Creatures formed from the primary elements: air, water, fire, earth. The science division had a technical name. We just called them elementals.
This movie takes place in late June, early July 2024. There is one major inconsistency, and that's the inclusion of the Signal Lights Festival, which happens in October usually. I need to take the time to thank you all for watching up to this point, but most importantly I need to thank our Patreon sponsors who help us out each and every month. They make videos like this possible, especially when we're demonetized for using copyrighted content. I'm truly humbled that they enjoy our content enough to continuously help us monetarily, even if it's just $1 a month. Thank you. If you'd like to join us on Patreon, we'll link it in the description below. Quick, it's your last chance. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to do some combination of these 4 actions. If you'd like to subscribe, well, that would make my day. How did we do on our timeline? Let us know in the comments section down below. If you've made it this far and you're not satiated with Marvel timeline information, please do click right here and watch this specially crafted playlist called When Does the MCU Take Place?, which takes an in-depth look into each film in the series. But if you're feeling feisty and need a change of pace, be sure to watch this video here where I introduce the highest rated book of all time, and a way for you to get it free today. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.